Hello, I am Fernanda Paiva Hitchhiking Stars. Welcome to my channel, and today's video is a very important one because it will be about the transition from the lunar nodes from Taurus, Scorpio to Aries, Libra. So what can we expect with this transition? What are the themes that we should be working with? So from the flavor of the Taurian North Node and letting go of the Scorpio South Node, we're going towards Aries. And letting go some of the shadow sides of Libra. So what we're going to be covering here is very much inspired by Jen Spiller's Astrology for the Soul. Amazing book. So if you're interested in the lunar nodes, if you're interested in getting a bit deeper, this is the book to get. And we're going to go in sections here. So there's loads of different sections that are going to be covering here, but we're definitely going to dive deep into all of the themes, all of the different flavors and colors, and we're going to brainstorm here together what these transition might mean for us and how to use it in the best way, in the most positive way in our personal lives as well. All right, so before we get into the topics and there's different areas, and again there will be timestamps everywhere, so you can just watch the bits that really speak to you and fast forward the ones that you're not so interested, that doesn't really reflect your situation and how you feel. So don't worry about that. I'm surely not going to worry about that because we're going to have to go very deep into this topic. So first of all, the nodes are not really planets, and this is something that we really need to make it clear as well in the beginning of the video. So the nodes are points, and they have to do the intersection, so the movement and the intersection between the moon's orbit around the Earth and the Earth's path around the sun as well. So there's a kind of a union, a moment where there is a meeting of paths between Earth, Moon, and the sun as well. So what Jen Spiller says about the lunar nodes, and I think is interesting, is that it has to do with balancing our emotional bodies. So we can have nodes for every planet. So there are the Neptune's nodes, Venus nodes, etc. But the most popular one, and the ones that we refer, are the lunar, the ones, the moon's nodes. So another point that I want to make before diving deeper into the topic is that the transition will be happening on the 17th of July for the UK, like night of 17th of July, but other places it will be happening on the 18th already. So this transition between Taurus and Aries / Libra Scorpio will be happening in July. Also important to keep in mind as well is that these nodes are going to be in Aries and Libra until January 12, 2025. So there's a long time here for us to be exploring the lunar nodes. Now, personally, I find that the lunar nodes are very important points, especially when it's connected with relationships, with the people that we meet, the people that we attract in our lives as well, and how we can grow and evolve through partnerships, relationships, people. It doesn't have to be love relationships. I don't mean that, but definitely we see through others as well. There's something about this movement of, what people bring and what people reflect into our lives that's connected to the lunar nodes as well. So I find, transits from the lunar nodes, especially conjunction, is what I would be looking at. So if you have a sun in Aries, moon in Aries, Mars in Aries, those that lunar node, the north node of the moon, will conjoin that point, and that's what you could be paying attention to. I don't look at trines as much or squares as much. I haven't found them to be as relevant or as obvious, at least in my life, since I've been observing this. And I do find that whenever there is a conjunction, and especially to the angles as well, so you rising in Aries, rising in Libra as well, this is going to be relevant to you, and with the midheaven and the IC as well. So there is something very important that happens around the time that the nodes conjoin our angles or our personal planets as well. Some kind of insight. It can be major, it can be smaller, but there is something of the sort of cosmic order of growth. I don't know, like there's something about growing and becoming yourself that the nodes kind of point as a pinpoint as part of the journey somehow. There's something quite karmic about the lunar nodes, and I do strongly see that as well. I find them extremely important and quite revealing as well in the natal chart about what we're learning, where we're headed. And I don't believe in letting completely go of the South Node and just going North Node, going rogue on North Node. I do believe that we need to balance the axis. Whenever there is an opposition, there is a need to balance the two opposites. So I find that with the lunar nodes, that's the case as well. When we think about the natal chart, so you've got gifts that you can harvest from the South Node and bring forward towards the North Node. The North Node, for me, definitely has a resonance with the path of learning and something that's outside of our comfort zone, something that we haven't been doing very much in the natal chart. When it comes to transit and what it means to have a North Node shifting signs collectively, I think the way I see this is that this is an opportunity collectively for us to work with that, for us to embrace the gifts of the North Node, for us to like explore how to do better the sign that's on the North Node, how to embrace that into our lives. Is an opportunity, is a window of opportunity that we have to work with that. And at the same time, to let go of the shadow that the South Node will be representing as well. So we're working with the worst of Libra, and we're trying to work with the positive, the best of Aries as well. We're trying to see what Aries has to offer, and at the same time, let go of the comfort zone of Libra and the overdoing of Libra that we're sort of doing in our lives as well. That's kind of how I see. Someone asked me and said that they were really looking forward to see me talking about reverse nodal transits. So you're a North Node in Libra, and now the North Node will be moving into Aries, so you have a kind of a reverse. I like to think about that as a kind of a midway and a mid path, because you're sort of halfway to a nodal return. So there is a sense of perspective with the halfway, and there is a sense of regaining perspective as well with the reversal of the nodes. That's kind of how I brainstorm that question. And also the sense that you can reclaim your gifts. So if you have a South Node in Aries, for example, during a North Node in Aries transit, you can learn to reclaim the gifts and the positives of that South Node in Aries. And how can you work with that and cultivate that to, you know, bring forward towards your North Node in Libra. So I think it's a time of reclaiming gifts and potentially a time that you can inspire other people as well. I find relationships that have reversal nodals very important. So your partner has reversal nodes or reversal houses, you kind of can learn a lot with each other. You're sort of coming from the opposite directions, so you can really inspire each other. So I think that with the reversal transit, you can do that for the collective, for the people around you. You can express the gifts and the positive sides of that Aries North Node. And reminding you again that I'm working with constructive astrology here. I am making a point of looking into what could be the best. How can we best use this? I'm not going to be focusing on all the horrible things that can go wrong and all the, you know, all the negative concepts around something. And I don't mean to be Pollyanna. I'm absolutely not Pollyanna. I love Saturn and the Saturnian principle, and I'm a Virgo as well, so very earthy. But I think that there is a sense of co-creating life, and if we focus too much on something in a chart as something that we should be scared and weary of, like it's definitely going to go wrong, then it's definitely going to go wrong. I don't see that going right in any way. So I believe in reframing. And that's what I'm trying to do with my channel, with my work, with my word, okay? It's all about reframing and trying to use this in the most positive way, according to your story, your needs, and your life, right? And who you need to become as well. So in a unique way, basically. So return nodes. So if you have a North Node in Aries and you have the return, I think that's a homecoming. There's definitely a sense of like something could be important here during this year and a half, something that you could pay attention to. And, you know, again, because it's your return, you need to have a look at your chart. You need to have a look at your personal relationship to the nodes, what houses are involved, what other aspects it does in your chart, because you will have a personal story connected with that return. So, but the feeling and the key word for me is homecoming when you're having your lunar node return. And yeah, something to observe. I think that's something important. Okay, so those were the words I wanted to say before we dive into the Aries shift. So I can move on with my old school notes because I am an old school person. So, and again, you're going to see me looking to my left because I have notes, because I need to keep this video organized and filled with value for you. So that's why I keep looking to my left. So the first, and again, like I said, I am getting a lot of these insights from Jen Spiller's book, which I highly recommend to you. So I kind of followed some of her structure as well to do this video because I thought it would be helpful and it'd be the best way for you to gain value from it. Okay, so first, we're going to talk about attributes to develop and attributes to leave behind. So when we think about the North Node in Aries, attributes that we're trying to develop and that we're trying to work on until January 25, so from mid-July until January 25, is independence, self-awareness, trusting one's impulses, courage, constructive self-interest. Notice constructive self-interest. We're not talking about becoming highly selfish and not caring about other people at all. We're not talking about that, okay? So constructive self-interest, moderation in giving. I love that one. You know, like for people out there, especially the highly sensitive people out there as well, or people that have very powerful Neptune, very powerful Chiron as well, there is a tendency to give ad infinitum, and it's about moderation here. All right, this year we're going to learn how to moderate that giving. So self-nurturance as well, which is another one, you know, like, oh, you're so selfish, you're taking some time for yourself. Well, that's self-nurturance, and we really need, so we're going to definitely talk about that with more detail. Now, on the tendencies to leave behind, what we're looking here is seeing oneself through others' eyes. So that over dependence on someone else is to tell you who you are, okay? That sense of identity that's dependent on someone else's validation, someone else's perspective, someone else's idea of who you are or who you should be, all right? So forget through others' eyes during this year and a half. It will be helpful. And even if you just think about doing that as an experiment, as something to try, as something to challenge yourself on trying, especially people with the strong Libra planets. So if you have, you know, Libra moon like I do, or Libra ascendant, or this is the opportunity for you to really dive into the dark sides of that Libra and fine tune in a personal way, fine tune in a way that works for you. What have you been overdoing with that Libra planet? This is the time you can let it go. This is the time you can move on from that attitude, from that pattern of behavior. All right. So let it go a little bit of that, seeing oneself through others' eyes, debilitating selflessness, being a bit too selfless that you can't even, like, you know, that idea of like, if you're in an airplane, you got to put your own face mask first, like your own oxygen mask. You can't just put everybody else's first because you're going to pass out. So it's not going to work. So there's a little bit of that during this year and a half. Let it go a little of being Mr. or Miss Nice. I think there is a book called There's Nothing Nice About Being Nice. And I guess this could be the book for this year for us to read. Because, yeah, like this tendency and this need to be nice, I think it can be quite manipulative on Libras. And I have a moon in Libra, so I can say that. That we constantly trying to control how other people perceive us. So we have an opportunity to let that go a little bit as well. Other people's opinions about who you are, perceptions of who you are not your business. It has to do with their own story and their own perspective and their own, you know, window to the world. All right. And again, I don't mean to let's just be horrible to each other because people's perspectives not our business. All right. I'm not saying that here. I'm talking about constructive astrology. So let's be constructive with all of these ideas I'm sharing here. All right. Take it with a pinch of salt. If you're already not a Miss Nice, then great, you're already done with that. But maybe you can do a little bit more with the selflessness, or, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm sure you are already, but I need to say that. So another one is obsessive attachment to fairness and justice. Oh, is this fair? Is this always not fair that I'm going to take the afternoon off because I've got cramps, but other people need me? You know, again, I'm saying something that I have felt in the past a lot. You know, the sense of guilt that someone else, you know, other people are working and I'm not capable of work right now because I don't feel well, but oh my God, I need to be there because it's not fair. So let it go a little bit, you know? It's like, yeah, fairness and justice is good, obviously, but the obsessive attachment to it is potentially holding us back here. All right. And again, please take it with a pinch of salt. I don't mean, you know, there's a lot of social injustice out there that we still need to tend to, that we still need to be angry about or fight about. I'm talking about in our daily situations, in our lives, with ourselves. Okay. I'm talking about self-care, self-nurturance, which is the other side of the column there. All right. Another thing to leave behind is codependence, the attachment to external harmony. So it's all about keeping the harmony. It doesn't matter how I actually truly feel and what I truly need in the moment. I'm going to try and keep the harmony. Best time for you to learn how to let this go, or how to fine tune this. Slow that volume a little, you know, lower it down, and etc. So I think there is something to learn about those behaviors. And Jen Spiller also says, time to let go of tit for tat mentality. So this like, oh, you got me one, I got you one. You got me two, okay, I'll give you two. You know, there are different ways of retributing something, of giving something back. Sometimes the way that we can give something back is quite unique. Sometimes what someone needs is actually not the same that they gave us, but something else. So there is a little bit of that there. All right. So there is a story here with this North Node, and there is a theme here with the North Node in Aries. So there's an opportunity here for us to learn how to be our own partner first. So rather than keep seeking a partner again and again and again, it's about us learning how to partner ourselves, how to be our own first partner, how to support ourselves, how to treat ourselves a little bit more fairly. So with that in mind, think about it. For example, where are you being unfair with yourself during, you know, this year and a half? Where is it that you're being unfair with yourself? Where is it? What area of life? What's going on there for you, right? And this is based on the idea that the South Node in Libra has spent loads of past lives supporting someone else. So survival was connected with someone else. There is a resonance a little bit with the South Node in Scorpio, but obviously a bit different. It doesn't bring as much emotional trauma and emotional intensity as the South Node in Scorpio has been bringing. All right. But it's definitely about finding balance in relationships by being autonomous. Yeah. We can build relationships based on equality, two individuals that can contribute to the relationship. We don't depend on each other. We can have interdependence rather than codependence, right? We help each other, but we don't need the other person to, you know, parent us or something like that. So you're gonna notice as well that this video can be very useful if you have natal North Node in Aries and South Node in Libra. All right, so it works for you as well. I'll be using the perspective of what we can do during this year, but that's something that's probably a lifetime for you, a lifetime lesson and journey for you of exploring all of these different themes. All right, so let's move on to the next section. The next section is healing affirmations for Aries North Node. Now, those I find cool as well, because we can write on a post-it, We can put it on our windows, on our walls, on our mirrors in the bathroom, you know, anywhere that you tend to see very often. And something, you know, picking these affirmations, the ones that speak to you, the ones that kind of has a resonance with your life, with, you know, what you're going through or what you tend to go through as well. So the first one is, when I trust myself and follow my impulses, everyone wins. So when I trust myself and follow my impulses, everyone wins. So it's about learning how to get in touch with our impulse rather than over rationalizing all the possibilities, how everybody else is feeling, and 2 + 2, 4 + 4, you know, it's trusting. So perhaps there's a sense there of strengthening our relationship to our impulses, to our intuition. Fire signs about intuition, right? Air signs is about rationality. We're going to rationalize our decision, while the North Node in Aries is about intuiting your decision and having a connection to your impulses. Second healing affirmation: before I can support others, I have to learn how to nurture myself. That's a powerful one, eh? I'm going to read it again. Before I can support others, I have to learn how to nurture myself. That's a great one. I mean, I would have that on a post-it for myself. As you know, a huge part of my journey has been how to set boundaries and how to set healthy boundaries. You know, I used to not do boundaries and think that I was being nice, think that I was being kind, but there's nothing kind about not setting boundaries, hey? But I thought I was being kind, and then I'd suddenly do over create boundaries, you know, explode, and the boundary would be a bit too much, you know. The person would be like, "Jesus, I just asked you to pass me the salt. What's going on? Why are you like overreacting?" So this is a great one. Before I can support others, I have to learn how to nurture myself. Third one, are you ready? So third affirmation would be, I can help others best by truly being myself. Love this one. I absolutely love this one. Like I said a few other times, and it's written on my profile as well, my top value is authenticity. Authenticity is like non-compromising. That's, you know, part of a struggle of like having jobs, doing things that I don't really resonate with is just very, very difficult. So this year we can learn more about being truly ourselves. Don't need to be what other people are expecting, what other people would like. We don't need. And in fact, there's some very interesting explorations that we're going to do connected with this throughout this video. But this is one of the affirmations. I can help others best by truly being myself. The following one is, it's okay not to be nice all the time. People with loads of Libra out there, that's for you. It's okay. You don't have to be nice all the time. And the last one, I think that's the last. Yeah, the last affirmation is, a sense of balance and strength comes from being fair with myself. All right. So if you're very good at pondering, well, ponder on fairness towards yourself. Are you being fair to yourself? Is it fair to pick up a phone when you're actually really hungry and just about to have your dinner and not say anything to the other person and engage in a 3-hour conversation that you don't really feel like you need in that moment? Is that fair with yourself? Skipping your dinner, you know, your moment of real important nourishment. So answer that question yourself. You know, do the exploration there and see what feels right to you from everything that I'm sharing here. All right. So, like I said, this is the section on past lives that she talks about, and she says past lives had an extra focus on partners. So the idea was, if I keep them harmonious, they will be generous to me. So it wasn't as traumatizing or as traumatic as the South Node in Scorpio was, you know, of survival and like a sense of desperation there. But there is this sort of people pleasing. If I keep them harmonious, they will, you know, they'll be generous to me. So keeping the atmosphere, feeling responsible for the atmosphere around you and tiptoeing around people. So the idea of being part of a team was also very neglectful, if that word exists. So it's neglecting your own needs, basically. It's like, we're a team, so I can't really focus on what my actual needs are. And also these need to be part of a team, or this tendency to be part of a team, ended up extinguishing their own identity. So this is probably going to resonate strongly with people with South Node in Libra, or with South Node in the 7th house as well, natally. I'm speaking here, natally, okay? So potentially Venus conjoined South Node as well, you know, because you have tendency to be that Venusian person, and Venus is the ruler of Libra. But we can brainstorm on how we do that in our lives, all right? So maybe you haven't extinguished your identity. How capable are... So the question to ask is, how capable are you to stand by your identity regardless of your partner? Are you able to have a sense of self? Open question there, all right? So here we have a few points that are connected with past lives, and there are 5 points. Being a Virgo here, keeping it all organized. So there are 5 points. So the first one is a lack of identity. So a tendency to be, to not have a sense of self. Now, again, take this with a pinch of salt. If this is about the transit, and for thinking about the next year and a half, with these 5 points connected with past lives, you can always brainstorm as like, how much do I struggle with this? From 0 to 10, or from 0 to 5. Do I have an issue with this? Because this year and a half, I'll be able to work with it. Yeah. So the number one here is lack of identity. So exploring sense of who we are. There was a real sensitivity there, or there is a real sensitivity there, and sensitivity to other people's moods. So we tend to respond to it and lose our sense of self, lose our sense of who we are. Yeah. So the antidote is to do things that fortify self-awareness. So spending time alone for self-discovery, you know, allocating time for yourself throughout the day. It's like my morning coffee is by myself, and I sit for, you know, half an hour by myself. However, or whatever arrangement brings you individual happiness. So we can explore that. We can allocate, you know, moments for individual happiness there to strengthen our sense of who we are. So number 2 is learning to love the darker sides. So the Libra tendency, and that's where it is very different from the South Node in Scorpio, even though both have a tendency for, you know, leaning on relationships a little bit too much. But the Libra side has a bit of an aversion to the darker sides, as if, you know, if I show my darker side, I'm not going to be loved. So the obsession of keeping the harmony is so strong that we don't want to show these other sides, you know, we sort of want to disengage from these other sides. And in fact, according to Jen Spiller, these darker feelings are actually very revealing of who we are. Not as a, oh, I'm a selfish person, but as a, oh, why am I angry now? Why am I having these mean thoughts about my partner right now? Oh, yeah, like I needed him to come with me to, I don't know. You know, they're great. I tried to give an example here, but just to say that they're great for you to trace it back and to find more this sense of who you are, why you're feeling those dark feelings, right? Is it because we're neglecting our own needs? And so it can be a clue there, all right? So learning to love the darker sides. Number 3 is harmony versus self-sacrifice. So a lot of self-sacrifice to keep the harmony, to keep things fine, and etc. So learning how to allow others to self-regulate, that's a big one here. Huh? This is a big one. This is something that's being quite a game changer personally here, and I still find very uncomfortable when I'm around people that are upset. The first thing, you know, there's this meme of like Alice in Wonderland and the cat saying, everybody's mad here, and she's like, mad at me. And it's like, it really made me chuckle and like share that with a lot of my friends. And so yeah, so this hypersensitivity that some of us have, that we feel responsible for other people's feelings. We feel like, oh my God, she's mad, I must have done something. I must, who here hasn't had that? Like, you living with random housemates and someone seems to be unhappy, and the first thing you think is, what did I do? Was it because I didn't take the rubbish out? Was it because I was too loud on the phone call? Was it because, I had a shower in the morning before her? Like, as if, it's all your fault, as if you are responsible for other people's emotions and well-being. So this is a huge insight, and it's something that I still I need to repeat in my head when something is going on. Like, if my partner is having a difficult day and he's feeling very frustrated, and the first impulse, maybe that's my moon in Libra, but the first impulse is to try and what can I do? What can I do to change this? But we need to allow people to have a space to experience their emotions. That was a huge revelation for me, from like different sources and things that I came across. And so the idea of allowing people to have their emotions, allowing people the space and the time to self-regulate, they have the right to feel frustrated and to close themselves in a room for like a day if they want to, if that's what's best for them and that's what they need. So you allow them autonomy as well by doing that. And so I learned that the trick, when someone is really upset, someone close to you, potentially with your kids as well, I don't know because I don't have kids, but potentially with your kids, you might probably feel, like you need to do something straight away as well. With your partners, people close to you when they're upset. The trick is to say, is there anything I can do to help you? They're going to say, yes, can you make me a cup of tea? Or yes, can you give me some time alone? Or no, there's nothing you can do. So then, all right. And I think you allow them the autonomy rather than you try to keep the peace and you tiptoe around them and, feeling responsible for it. So in that place as well is letting go of subtle manipulation. Libras, dark side of Libras out there. Dark side of Libras manipulating. You're not direct. You don't say what you want. You suggest, how about this? Or, you try to get what you want in a more seductive way, in a more Venusian way. You don't say what you want. So we're practicing directness as well, okay, during this year and a half. Be direct. Say what you mean. Say what you want, build a direct communication channel between you and your loved ones and the people that you really care for. All right. We need to pay. So if before it was all about paying attention to the harmony in the environment, now we're paying attention to inner harmony. Does this feel harmonious inside me? Is it harmonious to go out for dinner? Like, does it feel right? Do I actually want that? Or am I doing this because I'm expected? So being honest about our needs rather than peace at any price. The need to relate as two individuals rather than the relationship as an entity. So you're not relating to the relation, it's all to save the relationship, is actually two individuals that are on the journey. They're growing, they have different needs that might change different times, and we're sort of learning with each other on that level. All right. Encourage the other's individuality and independence during this year and a half as well. Practice that. And that's, the challenge there with the different types of attachment, right? If you have an anxious attachment, you might feel like, oh my God, you haven't called me this whole afternoon. This North Node in Aries here is coming along and giving you the chance to review that, to, work on that as much as you'd like, as much as you're, comfortable with, but to challenge yourself in those areas a little bit, Number 4 is participating versus hiding. That's a brilliant one as well. And I have seen South Node Libra people that I met, having a little bit of that behavior, not really voicing up an opinion or not really saying what they think should be happening. And to be honest with you, even like my moon in Libra again, it's like, I see a friend that I haven't seen in a long time. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? And so you're sort of like, oh, what would you like? Oh, do you want to go for ice cream? Okay, let's go for ice cream then. I don't mind. So we're sort of training and practicing how to participate rather than design, but hide behind the group, hide behind all those opinions or those needs. Let's take responsibility for what we actually want. So blending in, that's the tendency of the past. Blending in so we don't stand out as an individual. Yeah, plugging into the energy of the group and being what one needs to be to keep the harmony. Things to let go of, all right? Also, a lot of concerns about the possible repercussions of being themselves. Like, oh, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? Oh, I shouldn't be, you know, who I am. So fear of negative feedback as well. And interestingly, also, like this habit of fitting in, impacting our sense of identity. And this is something, you know, of being, I mentioned the book, Brené Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, that I am listening. I've got an audiobook, and it's amazing. One thing that she says is that fitting in is the polar opposite of belonging. So we can't belong if we fit in, because fitting in means that we're doing something according to what's expected. We're just blending in the mass. There's no true acceptance of who you are. Whereas belonging is when you actually stand up for being yourself, you voice it, you have a voice, you have, you know, a story, and that matters, and you have meaningful contributions to give to the group, and that's belonging. So maybe we're going to learn about belonging by not fitting in with Aries North Node. Who would have thought belonging with Aries North Node? But it's possible. It's possible. So that's the participating versus hiding. Let's participate. Let's belong. Let's find where we belong. Okay. Number 5 is decision making. So finding and standing by what we want. That's another one I have seen with South Nodes in Libra. And although there is a moon in Libra in me, there is also Mars in the first. So there is also South Node in the first and Mars in the first. So I don't think that has been something, you know, if I truly want something. I think I have had issues with accepting when I don't get what I want. From like an early age as a child, you know, slamming doors and doing things like that. But anyhow, decision making is here as well for us, to have a look at decision making, to make decisions, to have the courage to make a decision, to stand by what we want, to find a preference, this or that. Actually, I prefer that, you know, and be really clear about that. And that's also, you know, feeding on the sense of identity, the sense of self. If we have a preference, you know, that can lead to a stronger sense of who we are. Why do we have that kind of preference, you know? And we can have a stronger sense of identity there. So getting in touch with our impulses, with our intuition, we're exploring single-mindedness. We're exploring single-mindedness through excitement. Does that excite you? Maybe you should stand by it. Maybe you should make a decision and go for it. Yeah. It's also being in the body and feeling how it feels. That's another one. So rather than being in your mind, South Node in Libra, thinking, is it fair? Is it not fair? Comparing to ideals of fairness, we be in our body. Does it feel right? How does it feel right now? Let me follow this impulse. We're learning a little bit about that. All right. So I finished with the past life, with those old tendencies. Now, where we're going to go, and obviously I've prepared a very deep, long video for you, but where we're going to go is needs. And what we're going to talk about is needs connected with the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, right? So number 1 here, and it doesn't mean that's the most important. And again, we all going to vary, like it's going to vary how we all relate to these different possibilities here. Like we might say, actually, I have a very strong sense of self. Like I don't need to explore that as much. But when it comes to, you know, standing by my choices or making decisions, I tend to postpone it as much as I can, or, you know, up to you, really. You're the only one that can decide. But I'm just giving you as much information I can, valuable information here, so you can explore that with yourself and you know, decide where you're going to be pondering, where you're going to be focusing your growth during this year and a half. So needs, number one, sense of identity. So rediscovering and reestablishing a true sense of self is now a primary need. Who am I apart from others' projections? Doesn't matter what other people think, what other people are projecting. Who are you? What are you? You know, what are you about? What makes you tick? What are your preferences, etc. Number two, self-awareness. So checking in with ourselves regularly, stay inside our energy field, don't give it away, don't just, you know, other people's moods and states are their moods and states. Learning how to stand on the ground of our own energy field. That's a great one. That's a really good one. I could do with more of that, to be honest. And that's an antidote for people pleasing as well. The instinct of people pleasing, of saying yes too quick, just because we think it's going to be nice if we say yes. But everything else in our body is screaming, no, don't do that. So self-awareness and checking in, getting this into this habit, checking in. How does it feel? How do I feel? You know, when people ask you for things, checking in. Close your eyes, go inside and check in before you say yes, before you say no. Number three, self-sufficiency. Following desires, authenticity, taking responsibility for ourselves, knowing what our needs are. What are your needs? Do you know what your needs are? Is this something that you're very conscious of? Do you know when your needs are being trampled on? Like when people are not fulfilling your needs? Have you communicated your needs? Are you expecting that they can mind read and they will know what your needs are? There is a real power in the ability of stating our needs and fulfilling them, for that matter, because that's about self-sufficiency. Having solitude regularly, my time during that time will come first. So learning how to put yourself first. Having, even if you can only allocate 20 minutes of the day for yourself, talk to your partner, say, get the kids. This is my 20 minutes to put myself first. It's like, this is the way that we change patterns, right? Even long-standing ones, is by creating habits and rituals. And so we create a habit of having our coffee 20 minutes in the garden by ourselves, or whatever it is that makes your heart sing, that you can have as a me time. So have some my time during this year and a half. Gaining recognition. This is an interesting one as well. Number four. So great to practice is starting things, allowing others to support you rather than being in the background and being in the supportive role, you know, behind the scenes. Recognizing individual special talents. So this could be a lot like work related. Are you capable of taking, you know, taking feedback and recognition and stepping into the limelight a little bit? I know it's not Leo, but there's something about the courage to be in the limelight. Courage. That's a very Aries word as well. So let go of the need for feedback for a sense of self-worth. You don't need other people's opinions to feed on a sense of self-worth. That's something that we need to do more of. Number five, grounding. I love that one as a Virgo, I guess. So maintaining the integrity of our own being, not losing ourselves on preconceived ideas of love, what love looks like, or what harmony, you know, the need for harmony again as well. So grounding and being in the integrity of our own being, I love that. I think integrity is definitely one of my top values as well. It's like authenticity, integrity. Like I really need them like very strongly. So I love this. Maintaining the integrity of your own being. So being in your body really. And being your authentic self from moment to moment as well, rather than what you have in mind that you should be, the idea, the ideal. But if I really love this person, I should be behaving in this way. Like, let's be ourselves, right? Let's be kind, but be ourselves. Okay, and here, when I was preparing this, I did write the acronym that Brené Brown uses when she talks about trust. And I think why I did this is that grounding and maintaining this idea of maintaining the integrity of our own being requires trust. You got to trust yourself in order to be able to be grounded and to be in yourself and to be in your integrity as well. And so Brené Brown says that to trust and to practice trust, she came up with this acronym that's called braving. And I love that because that's a very Aries word. Aries is about being brave, right? Is about being courageous, about trying something, is about taking a step, taking initiative. So I love that acronym braving for that reason. So B stands for boundaries. Doing boundaries, knowing where you end, where the other person starts, and vice versa. R stands for reliability. And this could all be connected with our own selves. This can be about other people, how to trust and build trust with another person. But this can also be about trusting ourselves. And so reliability, when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And that's, with yourself as well. So if you say you're going to take a half an hour me time for 3 months, to see how you feel, then you really do that. Then you really be there for you. A stands for accountability, taking responsibility for mistakes or for anything. I love that. Volt is a great one as well. And I guess this is more connected with other people, but we can think about ourselves as well. So Volt is really not sharing secrets of other people, not sharing sensitive information that other people have confided in you, and you go and try to, as a token of, hey, I'm going to give you this bit, so you can trust me more or like me more, but it is not yours to give. I guess in the context of trusting yourself, the Volt would be about oversharing, isn't it? It's like when you try to fit in and you try to share something about yourself that, maybe you shouldn't. I stands for integrity, which I love it. It's like walking your talk and, being really integral in your behavior as well. N is non-judgment. Again, let's think about our own selves, not judging yourself in order to be grounded, in order to be in your body and to be in the integrity of your own being. And G is generosity. Generosity with yourself. Are you capable of being generous to yourself? That's a good question to ask as well with the North Node in Aries, How generous are you with yourself? So routines helps us to be grounded in the body. So the body then becomes a natural boundary. How my body feels, it helps me to set boundaries as well. Is also a way to check in every day. Like, how does it feel? I guess I have a little advantage as a Virgo because I'm always in my body like, ooh, I ate that. That didn't feel very good. Anyhow, try to be in your body. Exercise is a way of being in your body as well, and it's very Aries as well, like activity, physical activity. So self-discipline is also an important one, and I guess it goes with the reliability of that braving that I shared with you. So those are like the 5 needs that she, sort of talked about in the book there as well. I mean, she didn't say anything about Brené Brown. It's just something that I've been exploring now. So something about finding our inner center in this process. And this is, I think this is my last part of this video, which will, I think, perhaps will be connected with our goals as well, with our goals that we can set with this North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. And again, take it with a pinch of salt. Decide which ones speak to you more, which ones, you need to practice a little bit more. Maybe you're really good at being grounded, but you could do with a little bit more assertion and, I don't know, taking credit for the things you do and, blah, blah, blah. So pick and choose. Make your own collage of what you need from what the North Node in Aries time will be offering you. Yeah. So finding the inner center, self-assertion rather than being nice, and the self-assertion as an honest expression that validates and strengthens identity, right? Saying to somebody, this is not okay. I don't want to do this, or, you know, making situations clear. This is again for all the Neptunian people out there, all the Piscean, heavily Piscean 12th house, you know, when we leave it with an unknown, it's like, I don't know what they understood. And I think what I understood that we were meant to be doing is this, but we haven't made it clear. I'll make it clear. All right, make it clear. And think about what your boundaries is. I have been practicing, and that's something that is not even for a very long time, but I have been practicing rather than waiting for someone to say, like, so when do you want to go? What do you want to do? Like, to come up with like days and times that would be okay for me, and like set the, you know, the tone, and be like, and give a few options, you know, so the person can make a choice, but to already have a container and be like, I would actually be okay having a phone call with my friend this weekend, or, you know, and so you give a timeline rather than suddenly being called out of nowhere and, you know, not being able to have your dinner because you can't say no. So allocating times, and, you know, I think maybe this could be a way of practicing self-assertion as well, like being clear about what your availability is. And making that clear to other people as well, making clear about payments and what your time is worth, and, you know, so we don't just leave it in a gray area and wait for the other person to make a decision. And we're talking about self-assertion again. Is a North Node in Aries. We're talking about self-assertion as a constructive thing. Yeah, in a constructive way. We're not talking about being horrible with people and just doing it your own way and being super selfish and the worst of Aries. We're not really talking about that, but we are talking about constructive self-assertion, and this new way of not avoiding conflict. You know, conflict is a place that we can grow through conflict. So we welcome conflict during this year and a half. And we do it grounded, in a grounded way, in a, you know, we don't need to go crazy on the conflict, but we don't hide away. We don't, you know, run away from conflict. When it comes to relationships, it's about working on issues of dependence, boundaries again. Choosing a partner is an important one with the North Node in Aries, because the shadow of Libra is not seeing or being seen. It's all about harmony. It's all about the harmony. It's like you can sense what the other person wants you to say. You can sense what the other person wants from you. And you just kind of give them that because you're working on this ideal. So it's nothing to do with who you are, because you're not aware of your own identity. And you're also not aware of what the other person is. You're not really looking at them. You're only aware of what makes that person upset. And you really avoid that. So that's not a way to go. All right. Relationships and choosing a partner has more to do with seeing that person for who they are, looking at them, witnessing them, being witnessed as well. Practicing independence, as I mentioned before, and working on issues of fear of commitment. That's the worst of South Node in Libra as well. You know, being so sensitive and receptive to others that you avoid commitments altogether. It's like, better alone than, you know, honestly, I've seen myself in situations like that where like I prefer to go on my own because I wouldn't have to cater for other people. Because once they were there, I had, you know, stronger than me. I'd just be doing what they want. And, you know, and I think especially as a child, you know, with friends, and Allah's my moon in Libra's in the 11th. But I wouldn't be able to stand up for myself and tell them, no, the high heel of the Barbie is mine. I'm going to be wearing it. You're going to be wearing the ugly shoes. And that's true story. My Barbies, and I ended up with the ugly shoe. Like, and funny enough, the friend was an Aries. So, yeah. So anyhow, I digress here. Working on our fears of commitment as well. And with the, you know, I think that's closing to close this video, which is probably very long already. We're going to be talking about goals. So the goals to keep in mind, and again, pick and choose. So self-discovery, the courage to follow our impulses, taking risks, experiencing the different facets of ourselves, rather than results as well. Not thinking about the results as much as, you know, seeing decisions as a way to get to know yourself more, as an adventure. That's very Aries as well. Yeah, having self-discovery as the motive behind actions. Then number 2, self-reflection, like I said before. So rather than other people's perspective, being sensitive to our own ebbs and flows. What's going on here? Do I feel tired? Do I feel hungry? Do I feel whatever I feel? Really checking in. Honesty about needs and values. Attract the right people. If you're not honest about your needs, about your values, then you end up with people that are not suitable to you. So finding a suitable partner means that we need to be ourselves. We can't just pretend we're something that we're not. Goals. Self-love. That's a great one. I'll put that on my post-it. Assertiveness, trusting oneself and trusting negative emotions, like I already said. Claiming one's own power. Leadership, so practicing leadership. And interdependence rather than codependence. So those are the goals connected with the North Node in Aries, the South Node in Libra. I hope this has been helpful. You let me know how you feel. Maybe I'll do part 2 with the ascendant and the nodes transitioning through the houses. You know, we can brainstorm together what this might mean to you. But let me know in the comments. Let me know, what do you think? Where is Libra and Aries in your chart? Do you have any planets in these signs? Like, are you looking forward to this transit? And yeah, I'll be really keen to listen and to know. And again, let me know what you're interested. What would you like to see me talking about next? I'm still working on my Chiron video, and it will be out soon. I'm just doing a very deep exploration of Chiron. I also got a new book on the goddesses and asteroids by Demetra George, and I'm very keen and excited to explore the asteroids as well. So I'll be doing a video about that eventually too, once I get through those books. And I think that's it. Let me know, give me new ideas. And in the meantime, wishing you a wonderful week and a beautiful full moon. I think it's full moon today when this video is coming out. And I will see you all soon. Bye.